Hey folks, it's Michael Johnson. Welcome to this week's Energy Sketch. Here I am, frustrated, stressed out. I'm worrying about all of those loose threads that are surrounding this ball of yarn. And this ball of yarn represents for me any project, any relationship, anything you're up to in your life. There are always going to be open threads and loose threads. So I want to talk about that today and give you a couple of strategies that have worked for me reasonably well on how to manage that stress. So if we plot this versus time, you can imagine you start here on the left, and as time marches on, right, there are choices. There are always choices to make in life. Should I go left? Should I go right? And each of those potential choices then branches out into multiple other choices, and there are an infinite number of potential sort of future scenarios that might happen. And so if we imagine for a moment that we are here at the left side today, and we're looking forward to the future. And what we see is really this infinite number of options that could or might happen in the future. And for me, this leads often to a feeling of overwhelm, of stress. You're going over, what if this happens? What will I do? What about this? What about this? What about this? And worrying and trying to come up with mitigations and backup plans upon backup plans upon backup plans in case one of these scenarios might realize itself in the future. And that is tough. That's a really hard way to live your life. So, how do we get over that? Well, here's an idea. Here's a couple of ideas for you. And the first sort of Zen principle to remember is that there is only ever one path. So, once we've taken this choice and we've gone left, right, we've essentially cut off all of these options. So, we don't need to think about mitigations for those options anymore once we've made that choice. And perhaps that choice is reversible. We could go back and then maybe those options might come back later. But for now, as we're walking down this path, here we've chosen to go left. So we've essentially cut off all of these options here. So we don't need to think about those anymore. And remember, there's only ever one path that we're walking on. So here we've cut off all of these options. And again, we're walking our path and we've taken this road. So we've cut off these options. So that's the first sort of Zen insight, perhaps, is to remember that there's only ever one moment, one present moment, one path that we are walking on. The other lesson, perhaps, that's valuable for me is acceptance. Accepting that in the future we don't know what will happen. It's unknown. And that's part of the beauty of life is the unknown, the imprévisible, the uncertainty in the future, and perhaps let that be a source of comfort for you that you will be surprised and take those surprises as beautiful things in life. So acceptance that stuff will happen in the future, unknowns will happen. And trust that you can figure it out. Whatever happens, trust that you'll be able to figure it out. You'll be able to make it work in the future. So those are some Zen wisdom for you today around the stress of having all of these loose threads and open threads and that idea of the need to have mitigation plans and backup plans upon backup plans. And for me, that leads to overwhelm. It leads to analysis paralysis. It leads to inaction. So get started, make choices as you go, accept that surprises will happen in the future, and trust that you can figure them out. That's it for this week's Energy Sketch, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in. See you next week. Maybe. No guarantees, no refunds. 12:12 p.m. on Mondays at youtube.com/@EnergySketch. This being the 36th episode of the Energy Sketch. I suppose that's the end of season 3, and we'll see you around. Thanks for tuning in. Be well, folks. Ciao, ciao. Toodaloo. Bye-bye.